For this dose of Cinemania, we'll view theatrical performances on the big screen, look into the history of product placement in movies and how it's changed the industry, and count down the best films about making films with all their secrets and scandals. All this and more as we look at the silver screen's best and worst in Cinemania. But first, let's take in a dinner and show, the 21st century way, at the cinemas. Sit back and relax as we count down films set in theatres. In fifth position, we find Robert Altman's A Prairie Home Companion, a fictionalised account of a much-loved American radio show recorded in an old theatre. The film followed the cast as they prepared for their final show after broadcasting for 30 years.
Frankie and Johnny were sweethearts, but he was doing her wrong. He was doing her wrong in a bad way, but she was good and strong. He was her man.
This cinematic tale is a playful story set on a rainy Saturday night in St. Paul, Minnesota, where fans filed into the Fitzgerald Theatre to see A Prairie Home Companion, not knowing that the night show would be the last. Except for the opening and closing scenes, this theatrical film was shot entirely in the Fitzgerald Theatre. That's why this stage production comes in fifth position. Fourth on Cinemania's list of top 5 films about the theatre is The Illusionist, a supernatural mystery movie set in Vienna in the 1900s. In the film, Edward Norton played a mysterious magician whose tricks on stage intrigued all who saw them.
To demonstrate how nature's laws may be bent, tonight I give you ice.
But it was behind the scenes where the real mystery and magic began. When the Crown Prince attended one of the performances, he was hoping to show the magician up. His plan backfired when the illusionist used his powers to make the prince's love fall for him, undermining the stability of the royal house.
Immoral on a magician. Do you claim supernatural power?
Perhaps I'll make you disappear.
The mystical powers behind this theatrical performance see the illusionist reach 4th position. In 3rd spot, we find Dame Judi Dench in the British comedy drama Mrs. Henderson Presents. This onstage film told the wartime story of the Windmill Theatre, which daringly staged nude shows in London during the Second World War.
We need a license from the Lord Chamberlain.
Don't be silly. The Windmill Theatre will open with the most revolutionary programme ever seen in England.
We've got what it takes.
I brought the Lord Chamberlain.
Oh, good heavens. I'm warming to the idea.
Judi Dench played the Windmill's owner, Mrs. Laura Henderson, a widow without much knowledge of the theatre, who decided to put naked girls on stage, lifting the spirits of soldiers heading to war and staying open throughout the Blitz.
You don't seem to take war too seriously.
I take war far more seriously than you can imagine.
Based on a real-life theatre, Mrs. Henderson Presents is 3rd on Cinemania's list of top 5 films about theatres.
We shall come through.
In 2nd spot, we find the fictionalised story of J.M. Barrie in Finding Neverland. The film charts the relationship between the author and a widowed mother whose young sons, one of them called Peter, prompted the writing of the play Peter Pan.
Off to the ship with you then. Off to the ship, son.
So now you can either choose to become a pirate with the rest of us, or we'll toss you to the sharks.
How marvellous!
Now then.
This tear-jerking tale became a quick favourite with moviegoers who were enchanted by the behind-the-scenes look at the man who created the tale of the boy who never grew up.
To enter upon the most dangerous chapter in your young and soon-to-be wasted lives.
Inspired by the life of the author of the famous fable Peter Pan, Finding Neverland is a film worthy of 2nd position in Cinemania's list of top 5 films about the theatre.
Spirit boy man and greatly desired by the ladies.
In number 1 position, we find the theatrical film Moulin Rouge. silver screen feature had it all: elaborate singing, choreographed dance numbers, and exquisite costumes and sets. Apparently, the costume department created close to 300 costumes for the production.
I can't fall in love with anyone and make men believe what they want to believe.
I believe in truth, freedom, and above all things, love.
The unconventional movie impressed audiences and critics alike. Its success prompted a sting of films based on musicals like Chicago and The Producers.
And I wondered if I could work on it with
The musical spectacular starred Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor. They played secret lovers who themselves were writing and starring in their own musical spectacular, which was to be performed at the French landmark.
Is the most important in the production.
The story, the music, the sentiment and the amazing visual imagery drew audiences into the Moulin Rouge. Once there, their hearts warmed and broke as they followed the characters' intense emotional journey. This theatrical extravaganza is a clear winner on Cinemania's list of top 5 films featuring the theatre. It seems nowadays that every film we watch contains some kind of product placement. Soft drinks, computers, cars and phones appear everywhere, in the foreground, background, and are even part of the storyline.
Says Elliot. Next cue says stay.
One of the most notable films that involved product placement is Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial. The placement of Reese's Pieces saw a jump in sales reported to be as high as 65%. Sometimes the use of products in films will occur for a fee. Other times they're used to save money that would otherwise be spent on purchasing or renting the items. One thing's for sure, and that's that product placement is big business. Car maker Audi had their brand featured predominantly in films like I, Robot and The Transporter 2.
I'm looking for a transporter.
I'm listening.
In The Transporter 2, the main character Frank drove an Audi and used a Nokia phone. Whilst cool characters using the products may help to boost sales, there's also the risk that it will damage the film itself. The film The Island was criticised for its blatant use of product placement, which ultimately distracted audiences from the film's action. Like The Transporter 2, Cellular featured Nokias as its phone of choice.
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me? I need your help.
Steven Spielberg's Minority Report had product placement for brands like Coca-Cola, Nokia, Gap and Lexus, raising the question, when is enough enough? Blade Trinity may have taken it too far, with Jessica Biel's character and her need to fight listening to her iPod. Unfortunately, product placement in films is here to stay. Time now to count down the silver screen's highest achievers, those films which set new standards and, in the process, broke unbreakable box office records.
Just hold on.
At number 5, we find Gone with the Wind, a classic film which not only broke records, but paved the way for other films and filmmakers. A prime example of this is actress Hattie McDaniel. For her performance, she became the first African American to be nominated for and to win an Academy Award. The film, which won the Oscar for Best Picture, ran for over 4 hours, making it the longest-running film to ever win the award. Gone with the Wind's most notable record is that of having the highest box office gross if inflation is adjusted. In 1939, the film took $393.4 million at the international box office, which, once adjusted, becomes just under $4 billion. That record-breaking number is why Gone with the Wind comes in at number 5.
Come on!
In 4th spot on Cinemania's top 5 countdown of record-breaking films is the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Born to be
Because all three films were filmed back-to-back, the shoot itself took 274 days, equaling the record set by the 1979 film Apocalypse Now. The second film in the trilogy became the fastest film to gross $1 billion. In just 9 weeks and 4 days, Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers became the fastest and only the second film in history to reach the $1 billion mark. It was also one of the few films to gross over $100 million in its first week, reaching the $200 million mark by day 12. Return of the King earned an Academy Awards record by winning all 11 of the Oscars it was nominated for. That's why this record-breaking series made it all the way to 4th position.
Stay with me.
This day, we fight!
Third on this Cinemania countdown is the highest-grossing film ever, Titanic. This record-breaking film became the first ever to take $1 billion at the international box office. Its high box office gross came thanks to the film's broad appeal. This was also reflected by the awards Titanic received. It became the first movie to win the Oscar and MTV Movie Award for Best Picture.
Don't pee.
I'm not.
Step up onto the rail. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes closed. Do you trust me?
Along with Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King and Ben-Hur, Titanic is one of 3 films to win 11 Academy Awards. That makes this impressive feature worthy of 3rd spot on Cinemania's countdown of top 5 record-breaking films. In 2nd position, we find Spider-Man. At the time of its release, this 2002 film passed the $100 million mark faster than any other movie in history, taking only 3 days. While that record has since been broken, when it was set, it was widely regarded as unbreakable.
Hey, you guys. No playing in the streets.
Yes, Mr. Spider-Man.
See ya.
When the sequel was released in 2004, that film broke the record for highest one-day opening on a Wednesday, grossing over $40 million. The film also hit the $250 million mark in the record time of just 12 days, making the Spider-Man films Cinemania's 2nd greatest at breaking records. In number 1 position, we find The Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest, the most recent release to make it onto Cinemania's record-breaking top 5. 2006's Dead Man's Chest was the 2nd film in the Pirates trilogy and took a record $55.5 million on its opening day in the US.
Captain Sparrow!
In its opening weekend, it had totaled over $135 million, making it the fastest motion picture to reach the $100 million mark, accomplishing the feat in 2 days. It also outran every film in history to the $300 million mark. In 17 days, the Pirate sequel took more than the original film did in its entire 6-month run in 2003.
Jack
To top off its record-breaking haul, in September 2006, the swashbuckling film became only the 3rd to break through the $1 billion international box office barrier, following in the footsteps of Titanic and The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. The movie was so huge that the ride the film was based on is now based on the film. The treasure trove of records plundered by this pirate movie makes it Cinemania's best record-breaking film. Let's now look at the man behind Cinemania's record-breaking trilogy, The Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson. His first taste of professional movie making was the low-budget film Bad Taste, followed by 1994's Heavenly Creatures.
There's a song in the air, but the fair señorita doesn't seem to care for the song in the air.
Through Lord of the Rings and later his dream feature King Kong, fans learnt that Peter's love of films and filmmaking stemmed directly from the movies that he watched growing up.
I'm a filmmaker that loved fantasy films when I was a kid. I loved The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, Jason and the Argonauts. I mean, I'm making movies because I saw those films when I was 12.
While the first two adaptations of the fantasy trilogy went unnoticed for many awards, The Return of the King more than made up for the few years Peter was overlooked. Not only did it win 11 out of 11 Academy Awards, but Peter picked up 3 for Best Screenplay based on previously published material, Best Picture and Best Director. After spending 7 years on the Lord of the Rings saga, Peter's award cabinet included an AFI, a Golden Globe, Oscars, BAFTAs and a Directors Guild Award. Since his humble beginnings, Peter has moved on to bigger and better things. Each film is an improvement on his last, and while they have award-winning appeal, Peter insists that he always makes his films for film audiences. In just a few short years, Peter Jackson has become a powerful figure in the industry as fans wait in anticipation to see what he'll come up with next.
And cut.
Time now to look at films that reflect on the industry in which they exist. Stay tuned as we look at Cinemania's best films about films. For Cinemania's 5th position, we look behind the scenes at master storyteller Brian De Palma's The Black Dahlia, a fictionalised tale of obsession, love, corruption, greed and depravity, woven around the true story of the brutal murder of a fledgling Hollywood starlet that shocked and fascinated the nation in 1947.
Her name was Elizabeth Short. She was young and beautiful, determined to be famous, but destined to be infamous.
The murder, which remains unsolved today, allowed the film to look at the troubles lurking behind the scenes.
The victim has been cut in half, all organs removed, blood drained from the body, and the mouth sliced ear to ear.
The investigation into the starlet's tragic fate saw true crimes meet urban legends. This murder mystery, which took place when the camera stopped rolling, made it onto Cinemania's countdown of films about making films.
Become an obsession.
In 4th position, we find another murder mystery that happened when the camera stopped rolling. The Cat's Meow is another period movie that mixed fictional and non-fictional characters, with the plot centering around an unsolved murder aboard the yacht of the legendary media magnate William Randolph Hearst.
Everyone on this boat, for example.
Thank you, Tom. I'll handle this matter.
This feature about the film industry took audiences on a leisure weekend cruise in November 1924. Since the winter of that year, the voyage has lived on as a Hollywood legend.
To join me in an oath of silence, but you do not know what happened aboard this boat.
This film is said to be based on the whispers told around Hollywood about the event, with the film telling the whisper told most often. This film appeared to effortlessly capture the look and carefree vibe of the time, making The Cat's Meow worthy of 4th position.
Your love for Willie?
Leave, Charlie.
3rd on Cinemania's list of films about the film industry is Hollywoodland, and like the 4th and 5th films in this countdown, it's also inspired by one of Hollywood's most infamous real-life mysteries.
There's more going on than you realize.
George shot himself. He was shot
Who did that?
This feature followed a 1950s private detective who, whilst investigating the mysterious death of Superman star George Reeves, uncovered unexpected connections to his own life.
Stops one person from buying a ticket. I have to fix it.
This is how they work it. It just gets buried.
In 1959, in the early hours of the morning, Reeves went to bed and was later found dead in his bedroom with a gunshot wound to the head. This intriguing tale about a well-loved television hero makes Hollywoodland worthy of third position.
Prove it. I'm in the picture business.
Based on the true story of Hollywood's most notorious unsolved mystery.
I see the pieces, how they should fit, how I want them to fit.
In second position on Cinemania's countdown of films about films, we find The Kid Stays in the Picture, a feature about the life of Robert Evans, a life that plays out like a Hollywood blockbuster.
It was the beginning of the golden era.
He was responsible for some of the greatest movies ever to come out of Hollywood, like The Godfather, Love Story and Chinatown. He also had love affairs with some of Hollywood's finest actresses like Ava Gardner, Grace Kelly, Lana Turner and Ally McGraw. But the golden boy of Paramount was as quickly shunned as he was treasured when he got caught up in a cocaine bust and then became associated with a murder case.
The lights went down. Francis Lay's
The film used Evans's audiobook of the same name to achieve a rare brilliance, using only still photography and voiceover to create a feature-length film. Evans's life is the stuff that movies are made of, which is why it's ranked as Cinemania's second greatest film about the film industry.
Walk out of that theater in love for the night.
In number one position, Cinemania's best film about making films is the biopic The Life and Death of Peter Sellers. Exploring the life of the enigmatic British comedian Peter Sellers, the film touched upon his early career with The Goon Show to his untimely death at the age of 54.
And he also looks a little thirsty, Jill.
Geoffrey Rush starred as Sellers and took on all of his most celebrated characters, from Inspector Clouseau in the Pink Panther franchise to his work with Stanley Kubrick in Dr. Strangelove.
I am the fox. Who are you?
The film is not a straight biopic. Instead, it's a mixture of fact and fantasy, reflecting Sellers' own troubled mind while starring in films.
Fucking lady, get the hell off the set.
Peter, please. She's fine now.
Oh! No! My big scene's coming up.
Not anymore.
The Life and Death of Peter Sellers portrayed the public figure as a man whose personal life clashed with stardom. That made this film about making films a clear winner in Cinemania's countdown. That's all we've got time for. Be sure to tune in next time for your dose of Cinemania.
This is Italy.
Hollywood is a state of mind.